Let's do it. What you got for me?
I feel like a shared vision is foundational, right? When we make a commitment. And I think a lot of times we think that's like a one time thing. Like, obviously, you say I do at the altar and we commit to each other, but there's no shared meaning, no shared vision in what we actually want that to look like. Like,
Mhm.
we have no plan for our marriage. And I think it's important to have that, important in terms of like your shared vision for your family, for your marriage, for your kids, your
Mhm.
parenting, your finances. I think all of that is a part of the commitment, because you could be committed to the marriage, but where are you going? Where are we going
Yeah.
in this marriage? And so I feel like a shared vision gives clear direction to what we're working towards.
Okay. So not only are you saying like commitment is important, but you need to be committed to something, and that something outside of the marriage is a shared vision.
Yep.
Okay. And so that makes sense. So
I like the way you put that.
We still do. We still do. We still do. We still do after all this time at the altar. I alter my mind and vow to God I love you till he make his return. The rain should be the least of your concern. Under God's umbrella, I promise to provide and preserve his word and to serve your mind and spirit. Let me drive the boat. I promise I'ma steer it. The devil cannot get near it. You'll know this soon as you hear it. You need me, I need you. Even after the altar, we still do.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back to another episode of We Still Do. We are your hosts. My name is Lena, and I don't know what he's doing over there. You're not
peace
from
up,
Atlanta.
A-Town down.
You're definitely
I'm
not
not.
from
I'm
Atlanta.
from Soda. We throw up the S's.
Oh, that's cool.
Who you with?
I'm from Compton.
Who you with? Who
I'm
you
like,
with? Get crunk. Who
are
you
we
with?
banging? Okay,
Who you with?
whether you are
Who you
newlyweds or decades in, please forgive our silliness. Whether you're newlyweds or decades in, we still do have something for you. We believe in
Yes.
helping you to thrive after the altar,
Yes,
providing you
yes.
with practical tools, our experience, biblical principles. So stay tuned. Like, subscribe, share with someone that you
Yes.
know could use and benefit it, and stick around because
Yes.
we got some things to help your marriage move in a forward motion.
Yes, and we are your hosts. I'm Jermaine.
Oh, I'm Lena. Did I say that? No. Okay.
It's cool.
Hey, I'm Lena.
It's cool. Okay. So how you doing? How you feeling?
I feel good. I feel really, really good. I'm happy. I'm excited. I'm in love. You know what I'm saying? Little hungry, little tired, but I'm good.
That's good.
How you doing?
I almost wanted to say I know you're hungry.
Okay. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I love you. I love you.
I love you too.
I love this little chill look you got. You look comfy.
I am comfy. You actually liked me with like no makeup on, hair tie, sweats on, chilling with no. That's how you like me. I mean, not that's how you prefer me. More
Listen,
casual.
like you, prefer you, whichever one.
Okay.
They both the same.
Okay.
But you know how I really like you.
Okay. And we still do. What are we talking about? Tell them.
Today, we are talking about a shared vision, which all of these comments literally go into that.
Does it?
They
Please
do.
tie them together.
They do.
And wrap
Because
it in a bow.
when you talk about, I mean, good thing we don't have to wrap anything up.
Okay. Sorry, guys.
When we talk about a shared vision, which
Yeah.
is today's, topic,
Yes.
and why is that important for commitment? It's when we talk about a shared vision, we also have to have a shared vision sexually. Because if we are on the same page, then see, you can see how I can tie it together. So we need to go
He's reaching.
So-
He's reaching. But let's get back to what
anyways.
we actually talking about in this shared vision today.
Okay. So building a shared vision and just how important that is for commitment. So you got your phone out, you ready to go? Let's do it. What you got for me?
I feel like a shared vision is foundational, right? When we make a commitment. And I think a lot of times we think that's like a one-time thing. Like, obviously, you say I do at the altar and we commit to each other, but there's no shared meaning, no shared vision in what we actually want that to look like. Like,
Mhm.
we have no plan for our marriage. And I think it's important to have that, important in terms of like your shared vision for your family, for your marriage, for your kids, your parenting, your finances. I think all of that is a part of the commitment, because you could be committed to the marriage, but where are you going? Where are we going in this marriage? And so I feel like a shared vision gives clear direction to what we're working towards.
Okay, so not only are you saying like commitment is important, but you need to be committed to something, and that something outside of the marriage is a shared vision.
Yep.
Okay, and so that makes sense. So
I like the way you put that.
uh,
Go
somebody
ahead. Focus.
somebody say move on, Bishop.
You took us to church. Don't say it. Don't say it.
Okay, so but nah, so a shared vision, I think it keeps you like moving in a certain direction.
Yeah.
You know, because one of the things that we know about life is there's so many things that happen.
Yeah.
So many things that are unplanned, so many things that we have to pivot because of, you know what I'm saying, just the ebbs and flow of life.
Yeah.
And so with having a shared vision, like you can have a specific vision for your family, but when life happens, now we adjust how we get to the vision. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, of what you said. And so
I also think it helps to keep you from drifting apart. You
we'll
know what I
talk
mean?
about that.
Because if you don't have a shared vision, and let's say you have your own goals, right? And I'm just over here on my own, or I have my own goals, and we don't have anything that's keeping us, you know what I mean? We'll be like two ships passing in the night because we have our own vision individually, but nothing that's bringing us together in terms of the shared vision. And so drifting apart, being in survival mode in your marriage, or just this disconnect, and I think is really important. It's the thing that brings us together too for this common goal.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason why a lot of people have difficulty in relationships. Not only is it a matter of staying committed, but because they haven't had those conversations that really like ties those two boats together. You know, like for example, one of the things that we adopted as just like a mission statement for our life is, you know, to love God and live a life poured out of all gifts. And regardless of what that looks like in any season, what does it look like to love God in this particular season and live a life poured out? What it looked like before we had kids looks very different
Oh, for sure.
now that
So
we have
different.
kids.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because now when we talk about live a life, like love God and live a life poured out of all gifts, now for one, we have to know what our gifts are, but two, now the gift of parenting, now that looks different than when we were single, or not single, but when we didn't have kids.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah.
I mean, I still use that the right way. But when we were doing young adults and we had young adult, we were young adult leaders. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
It looked different in like it, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just all around different. And so one of the things that like when we talk about having this shared vision, it just brings this fulfillment into the relationship, the satisfaction into the relationship, because not only, and especially men, like we have our vision, we running,
Visionaries.
you know what I'm saying? And it's like some of us have a difficult time slowing down and bringing the family along.
Good. Yeah.
You know,
the family
and
along.
I guess because I know that I know you experienced probably a little bit of it, of me just trying to run ahead so fast, you know what I'm saying, and not slowing down to invite the family or bring the family along. And it wasn't until my discernment group to where it really clicked. So I want you to share with the people just that dream you had and just how that, you know, was for you in that experience.
Yeah. So I had a dream. I had no idea how to make sense of it. But basically, in this dream, it was like my husband was driving and we were all in the car, our kids included, and he was driving us like literally into the ocean. And I was like, what are you doing? I'm freaking out. I'm panicked, right? High anxiety. Like, where are you going? Turn around, turn around, turn around. Like, before it's too late, water was coming in the car. I'm holding our little girl above my head, like trying to keep her from being like immersed in this water. And I'm like, turn around, turn around, turn around, turn around. And, you know, in a panic. And he did listen to me and like turn around and go back. And it just totally made sense in this moment because I was praying on it, asking the Holy Spirit, like, what was this dream about? Like, where is he taking us? And we're gonna be drowning. But in that moment in the discernment group, it came back to me, which was technically like 3 days after I had the dream.
Mm-hmm.
And it made perfect sense because basically you had just gone through your master's program. You were still in your master's program and you already had plans for your doctorate.
Yeah. And so just real quick, a discernment group, it was
Oh,
where
yeah.
we had a lot of people around me that I invited that knew me well from different aspects of my life. So
Yeah.
I brought my wife, she obviously knows me in that respect. I brought my sister, she knows me in that respect. I brought my bishop because he knows me in that respect. And I brought some classmates who know me in that respect too. So all these people coming to like basically pour in to my life as I'm exiting out of my master's program. So
Yeah, that was good to explain what that is because they were like, "What?" Sorry, we want to bring you guys along on this shared vision too. So basically, yeah, and in that moment, like you were in your master's program and you were at the end. This was towards the end of it, but you already had plans for the next, and that's kind of how our marriage has been because you got your bachelor's and then you graduated December. In January you were in your master's program, and you already had plans. You were going to be graduating in May, and then you were like, in the fall, I'm jumping in, I'm going for my doctorates. And it was just like, slow down. Like, we just had 4 crazy years of this master's program. Like, let us catch our breath because you had this plan and this vision, and you were like, y'all coming whether you like it or not. But it was like, how will that impact us and our family unit as a whole?
yeah.
So yeah, I think that was a great point to make because I know for men, it could be like, okay, I got this. Even though we were the force behind it, like you always say, we're your why behind what you're doing, but actually considering how it's affecting the why.
Yeah, no, that's good. Like, how is it affecting your why? And that's important because um, even in the midst of it affecting your why, you also have to evaluate like what's the driving force outside of your why.
Yeah.
Because if you remember in that discernment group, as we kind of just processed, like there were quite a few people that basically, like in a nutshell, asked the question like, when is enough enough?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like at what point would you feel fulfilled? And in that was a deeper question of like, do you feel enough?
Yeah.
And so as I kind of
good.
sat and pondered it, it's like, man, like if I got my bachelor's, you know what I'm saying, then I would be qualified enough to get this type of job. Or, okay, the Lord gave me what I'm supposed to do in my life and I need to get my master's. Okay, so I'm gonna do that and now I'm gonna get my master's. But dang, I know like people really won't take me serious unless I have my doctorates. And so now I'm gonna go get my doctorates because now when I want to travel the world and I want to speak and all these other things, and to a degree that is like true, like, these credentials make you more qualified in certain spaces. But the other side of that coin is like I feel like I need to do that because I didn't feel enough. And so like this longing to feel enough was part of the driving force of why I'm able to go and really drag my family along and not consider y'all. So like being asked that question, like it really made me evaluate like, would I be okay if I didn't get my doctorates right now? What would it look like for me to get my doctorates in a season where it fit my family?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so,
Mind you, we had 2 kids during these 4 years
yeah,
that you were in your master's.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
And
it was a
so
lot.
I think the telling part of it was like, okay, you're at a space to where you're like, when I graduated, it was almost as if like I was right at the tipping point of burning out because
Yeah.
because I mean, just even thinking about what my life looked like then, like for especially the last year where I'm doing practicum and all these things, like I'm getting up 2:30 in the morning. Like some nights I'm getting home at 10, going to sleep at 11, and then I'm getting up at 2:30 in the morning because like I got homework I gotta do. Like I got I want to work out because I feel like they give me energy to, get through my day. But then I want to make sure like I'm present when everybody else gets up.
Yeah.
And so like I want to prioritize y'all. And then I got class and then I got, you know what I'm saying? So it was never stopping.
Right.
But at the same time, I was on the verge of burning out. And so the telling tale of that is after I graduated, my body would not let me get up past 7. or
I
before
remember
7.
that. Yeah.
And that was for at least 3 weeks straight. And so when we talk about having a shared vision, like it's important to realize like inviting the family, it was
Mm-hmm.
important for me to realize like inviting y'all on the journey, it did more for my self-care, you know what I'm saying, than trying to get up early and prioritize and all the things. Because now having a shared vision, there's this fulfillment that you have. Because I remember you sharing with me at some point, it was just like, bro, like I'm tired.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I get it. Like you going all day and you know what I'm saying? Like you meeting with clients, you going to class, you got to wake up early, you working out, like all the things. But at the same time, like I have to endure in a sense what you're putting us through.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? The choices that you're making is really putting a tax on our family. And more so not just our family, but putting like it's taxing to me.
Yeah.
Because while you're there, I have to hold down the fort here.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like you don't see me with these 2 kids. You don't see me with the attitudes I got to put up with. You
And I
don't
was
see
working
me.
full time too
Yeah, and I'm
from
working
home.
full
Yeah.
time from home, and then
Yeah.
I'm doing, um, I'm taking care of just like the, you know, the paying the bills and things like that, and you don't see how that's affecting me.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't until like, dang, like okay, I'm really driven. Not only is my family my why, but another reason is because I didn't feel like I was enough.
Yeah.
And so I even just want to encourage some of you men out there, like, what is your driving force for what you do?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why do you go so hard? Because when you think about your family and you think about, you know what I'm saying, like bringing them along, that might require you to have to slow down.
Yeah.
And if you're not willing to slow down, now you have to wonder, okay, well, am I really in it for my family or is this more for me?
Mm.
Because if you think about that, like if you think about having a shared vision means that you're moving together. And
That's
if you're
good.
not moving together, then there is some type of tension, whether you're the person being pulled or you're the person pulling. And so I want you to evaluate that, especially if you consider your family as your priority or your family as your why. Like oftentimes as men, we get caught up in this. I need to go out and make sure I'm a provider for my family. And we get in the hype of being a provider, and we're actually not providing ourselves.
Mm.
We're providing resources, we're providing money, we're providing a roof. But then when your kids grow up and you're uh 20 years down the line and you don't have a relationship with them, it's because you did all the things to equip them in that space, but never once or very few did you show up and gave them yourself. And I've just heard just often just so many kids that talk about, you know, they're adults now, but when they reflect on their life, it's like, man, I just really wanted my dad to show up at some of my games.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like I really wanted my dad to be, you know what I'm saying, there for me. Like me look in the crowd or me see like, you know, these people going to their, especially in high school, like seeing these my teammates go to their parents after the game, whether it was a rough game or whatever, and me having to go back to the locker room by myself. You know what I'm saying? Like those are the memories that stick with
Yeah.
these kids more than like the material stuff that we provide as men.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's important, but I just wanted to share that because
It's really
like
good,
it
honey.
has like those, you know, those effects on the kids.
I think that's really good. I think that wasn't even in our notes, but I think somebody needed to hear that, especially from a man's perspective of just like men are more, visual in general, but having this vision and this shared vision and making sure that you're bringing your family along, but then considering them and then, okay, what's the root of that? You know, how you say, like, what's the motive underneath that drive that you have? Is it really about your family or is this more about you? Or maybe even something that you're you didn't get necessarily, maybe they didn't have their dad there and this is all that they knew to do, or do you not feel enough as a man? So I love that you shared that and was vulnerable in sharing that, because like I said, it wasn't in our notes. A scripture I want to share is Amos 3:3. It says, can two walk together unless they are agreed? So a marriage thrives when both people are walking in the same direction, and I think it's so important to agree, but in agreeing, like what are some practical ways we can come together to share this vision? Because it's not like, oh yeah, we have a shared vision. Like this has to, over time, you have to discuss like morals. What do you want to instill in your children? How do you want to discipline them? Finances. How are we going to budget? How are we going to give? How are we going to save in our marriage? How often are we going to go on date nights? Like we mentioned in our last episode, if you didn't watch it, how are we going to resolve conflict when it arises? So there's a lot of things to consider that may need to be several conversations that happens. But what are practical ways in terms of how do we bring together your vision and my vision and to create, like some people don't even know, like where do we even begin, right? Like we've never even discussed this. Like we've just been coasting through marriage. Where do you start practically?
Oh, that's a great question. I think probably the first place, especially coming from our background of what has helped us, is the first thing we did was really pray what we wanted our marriage to look like. And for us, it was we don't we don't subscribe to the first couple years of your marriage has to be difficult. And so we were like, okay, well, what would it look like for us to be married and be happy, especially early on?
Yeah.
So, we prayed and asked, like, God, what is it that you want our marriage to do? Like, what do you want us to do for our marriage? And so for us, it was, we prayed and then we had conversations on like, okay, this is one of the things that I'm passionate about. This is one of the things that you're passionate about. Let me be more specific. So I'm passionate with working with couples. You passionate with wanting couples happy and healthy. And so it's like, okay, well, we have both have a health for healthy relationships, or we both have this desire for people to be
Right. Yeah.
healthy, and not only healthy, but also to thrive, because we see so many couples just waking up doing the same thing, waking up doing the same thing, and although there's beauty in routine, it's also just like being complacent. And so we were like, okay, well, the marriages we seen around us, we didn't want that. And so we sat and we had a conversation on what does this look like? Like, what do we want our marriage to look like? What would it look like for our marriage to be happy, for us to have fun?
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we came up with for that is we wanted to go on date nights. Date nights was something that we both enjoy doing. We both love having fun. We both love eating. We both are adventurous at times.
Me a little bit extra.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So even if it's just something like that's important to you, is just like quality time, taking the time to sit down and just talk and really explore what's going on in each other's worlds, in each
In each
other's
other's
minds.
worlds. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like really just having that conversation. And then it was like, okay, another aspect of that is um having a shared vision. Going back to what you said, didn't make any sense at first.
What?
Sex.
Oh.
Because it's something that we wanted to make sure in our relationship that it was fun.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And in order for sex to be fun, to be enjoyable, it started with me realizing that I had to fulfill your love tank outside of sex.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever went
Outside the
into
bedroom.
whatever went into making you feel like you were being intimate, or making you feel valued intimately, that wasn't sexually, it was like, okay, that made sexual fulfillment way better.
Mm-hmm.
And so then it was like, okay, well, what do we want our spiritual life to look like?
Yeah.
And so we had the conversation of, okay, well, this is what's important to us. Like you love spending time with the Lord when you get up, and this is you talking to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like you love spending time with the Lord, and I'm just wondering when we gonna do that together.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, okay,
Bringing us along as a family, especially spiritually, and what that looked like.
yeah. And so not only was it like, okay, like I value that time, you value that time, but that's something we need to do together, because this shared vision that we have is oneness, is, you know what I'm saying, fulfillment, this understanding of each other's world and where we are. We knew that this was one area we needed to grow in together. And so we incorporated that. And now we have our daily talks in the morning, and we conclude with, prayer every time. And, we share scripture. And then it was like, okay, what does that look like for our family? So then we started, okay, we want to introduce what's foundational to us to our kids.
Yeah.
And so we started implementing scripture to them, and we started affirming them because we want them to, start to develop this identity about themselves long before they get into high school or middle school,
Yeah.
where it will be challenged, where they will have some identity things going on. And we just want to have another aspect of that in the mix for them to have to wrestle through, rather than it just being, you know, I'm just concerned about what my friends have to say about me, what society has to say about me.
Yeah.
Now I can include what my parents have to say about me, but also what I say about me.
Yeah.
And then now, oh, what I've been saying about me this whole time, my parents have been really sharing with me that that's how God sees me.
Yeah.
So now it's this understanding, what I'm saying, and configuring all that together. So, and even I think probably the biggest part, and I'll let you talk a little bit more about this because I know you're really, really passionate about it, is our house vision or our house meeting that we do.
Oh, yes, yes. Yeah, that's another practical thing that we do and that I think would be good. Maybe some couples can find that it would work for them too. But we have monthly house meetings. And in this house meeting, we will discuss like we start out with appreciation, which I love. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what is something that you did this month that, that you appreciated that I did for you. So we start with appreciation, which I think is awesome. And then we go into what were some challenges, and then we discuss how are some ways that I can support you, and then we discuss.
And I just want to stop here
Yeah.
because you brought up a critical point that I think a lot of people miss. We talk about appreciations, but then a lot of people go into the things they don't like.
Mm-hmm.
When we have the house meetings, we don't talk about what we don't like. We just talk about what's challenging for us and how we can improve.
Yes.
And so I just wanted to point that out
Oh yeah,
of why
for
we
sure.
do that.
Yes. And then so we talk about how can we support one another, and then we talk about the upcoming events for the month, and we talk about any upcoming goals and how we can support each other in that. And so we do get to finances, but I love that that's not the top priority of the house meetings that we're having, and I love that we start with appreciation and just gratitude for one another. It always fills my cup. And then as we go on to like, okay, how can we improve in our marriage? Like, what were some challenges that we face? But of course, we get to finances too. And as you were talking about the shared vision, that wasn't one area that you particularly covered, but I think it is one that is important because we have two different personality types. You're the saver, I'm the spender,
Mm-hmm.
And so it's important to have this shared vision because in your mind, you could be trying to save, and here I am on Amazon all day. And so I think that is a huge area to where you should have a shared vision. So we go over like our budget. What's our budget for this month? What does it look like? What things do we need to pay for? How much do we want to save? So like, how much do we want to give? All of that is encompassed in our house meetings. And we like to do them a week before the next month. So we don't wait until the month starts. But I've heard of people having meetings, marriage meetings, and they do them weekly or they do them bi-weekly. For us, I think that's what works for us is just doing
Yeah.
it monthly. But I think it's really good because when you have this shared vision, a lot of times like we make our vision boards in the beginning of the year and we never revisit that vision. Like ever. And so I think it's important to keep the vision before you. And that can include like a visual aid. I know we have done like vision dates and we come together and we created, that can be digitally. I even have my vision board on my phone. So as my screensaver, so I'm constantly looking at what I'm working towards. But I think it's important, whether quarterly, monthly, when you have these meetings, to come together and like, what are your goals? Your dreams for your marriage, short term, long term, for your family. How are we disciplining? What struggles are our kids having? How can we help them? Like, I think it's important to have that.
Yeah, it is important. But I want to address this. A lot of couples fail to have this conversation, and that's why their relationship fails.
Mm.
Because when you think about it, for example, like I, when I work with couples, I also work with couples, pre-marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember meeting with this couple and just kind of going over, just some premarital stuff. Like they ain't really got no major problems because they knew,
Mm-hmm.
and like they haven't really Like they honestly, it's a really healthy couple.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I found out is that the couple, like they talked about that they wanted to have like this baseline for their families, like these morals that they wanted to have, but they never had a moral conversation.
Wow.
And a part of that came from like, okay, like their religious upbringing. And so I had them have a conversation in session, and like, you know, they're in front of a therapist, so they kind of, especially early on, like they want to be respectful
Right.
and all the things, but they couldn't get they couldn't get past the tension that they felt.
Wow.
Because when you talk about like religion, and you talk about how that's foundational for you, and you talk about how that's foundational for you in your relationship, like how are we integrating that? You know what I'm saying? Like one was brought up one way, another was brought up another way, like, and integrating that was very, very difficult.
Mm.
And
Something that
it
they wanted to be foundational but never talked about.
never talked about. And because they never talked about it, it was a hard conversation to have.
Mm.
And oftentimes couples get years down the line and never have those type of conversations, and when they come into conflict, they're more firm and steadfast in what they believe, and they're unwilling to
Yeah.
adapt. They're
Yeah.
unwilling to adjust to the shared vision. And so now, like, even if a couple hasn't had that conversation and they're years down the line, they just need to be willing to adjust and adapt. Like that's really all it is.
Yeah.
Like it's so simple, but yet the will of a person is so hard to bend because they have their ideas on what's right.
Mm-hmm.
They have their ideas on how it should go. Like their experience tells them that this is true when experience is low key kind of biased.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about like the fact that, okay, we didn't have these conversations early on, and now this is causing conflict in us, like having a shared vision, it really gives you something to submit to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? For example, like in Ephesians chapter 5, when it says submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. You know what I'm saying? Like we're submitting to Christ, and then it goes on and it talks about what submission looks like, for the husband, for the wife. Like not only are we submitting to one another, we're also submitting to the vision that Christ has for marriage.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about a shared vision, the shared vision gives us, okay, especially with finances, like if our goal is to make $1 million, that means that regardless if you're a spender and I'm a saver, we come together under that shared vision. Like if the goal is for us to be closer spiritually, and you are wanting to spend more time with me, and me to bring that into your world, like we're gonna come together and we're gonna do the spiritual things together. You know what I'm saying? Like if whatever it is,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like a shared vision really gives you a direction, and it really alleviates a lot of conflict, because when you have a shared vision, you have, we talked about on the last episode about having a shared vision, and um you talked about conflict, but just like how some conflict is solvable and some conflict is perpetual.
Mm-hmm.
And a shared vision really alleviates the amount of perpetual conversations you have, because now it's not a matter of I'm getting upset at you because you're a spender and I'm a saver and you don't work with money the way I work with money. But now it's like, okay, well, we have a goal of having a net worth of $1 million. So what we do both comes under that shared vision. And
Mm-hmm.
now we integrate this together. And it's another way of a shared vision. It allows you to walk in this oneness, that we're
Yeah.
called to Christ to have.
Yeah, I think that's good for sure. With the in terms of the oneness and having that shared vision, but a question that like in my mind I wanted to ask you is, do you think that the man is supposed to spearhead the vision of the marriage?
I don't think he's supposed to spearhead it. I think that whatever works for that relationship, honestly, because you might have a male who thrives in a more supportive role. For example, you have some women out here who are pastors, and a husband, for their relationship to thrive, might be to come alongside her, and live out that vision.
Yeah, that's good.
You know what I'm saying? And it's not
That's good.
necessarily her vision, but it's the vision that God has. It's the position that God has given her, and you really come together to make it work.
Yeah.
I think when we talk about males, really spearheading anything like that, if they get really caught up in there, I think it's an ego thing. Because when you talk about like a shared vision, like our goal is to be one. What does that look like? Because you have gifts that I don't. You know what I'm saying? Like when I think about like us coming together and us really like gelling, you know what I'm saying? Like oh man, I forgot what we was talking about, but I remember we was talking about how I called a phone company or I called somebody, and I remember I just couldn't get them to do what I needed them to do.
Yeah.
And literally you called them and you spent half the time on the phone and you got them to do it. And you got them to waive fees and all that. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm like spearheading that, like, and I'm like gun ho on like, no, I'm gonna make that happen.
Yeah.
That's ego.
Yeah.
In reality, we're a team. That's what the shared vision is about, is we're figuring out how we come together as one team to make the vision happen.
And I feel like some challenges with being able to have a shared vision, busyness for one. We're not taking time to even discuss what we want, what legacy do we want to build, what do we want to see, how do we want to parent. Like, I do think that sometimes we have this mentality that it's just going to click and we're just going to know and we're going to just do and operate. But it takes intentionality and it takes work, marriage in general. But in having a shared vision, there has to be discussion around it. And so if you're so busy that doesn't come up and you don't have the time to discuss your shared vision, I feel like that can be a huge hindrance or challenge, should I say, to being able to bring the two together and operate in a oneness in all these different areas that we've discussed here.
Yeah, and we got a great marriage in motion challenge.
Yes, we do.
Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. So these marriage in motion challenges are basically, we consume a lot of information. We want to give you practical ways that you can apply what we're teaching you and how you can live that out in your marriage. So we're talking about shared vision. This may be a discussion that you've never had, but now would be a great time to have one. So your marriage in motion challenge for this week is to go on a date, get cute, and discuss what do you want your legacy to look like? Short term, long term, what goals do you want to have for your family, for your marriage, for your finances, and for your faith? Discuss these things, pray about it, and begin to even create a visual aid to create your shared vision.
Yes, and
that's your marriage in motion.
Men, it's up to you whether you want to get cute or not.
It's not up to you.
That's
get cute.
up to you.
Get cute. Match her energy.
I mean, like, are you talking about like a spade for a spade, or are you saying like
when they see you, they see me. So if I'm dressed up, I need you to match it.
Okay. I mean, because, there's literal matching.
Okay.
So
Thank you for tuning in to this episode.
But no, seriously, remember that your marriage can thrive beyond the altar.
Yes, it can.
And this is We Still Do. And remember to keep your marriage in motion. Peace.
Even after the altar, it's marriage in motion. We still do. We still do. We still do.